Well, we meet again. Top of the morning to you. I'm getting ready to do some automation stuff on the Good Life track that I'm working on. Thought this would be a great opportunity to walk you guys through the SSL UF8 controller that I use to do all of my automation stuff, but that's just like one thing that this controller does. If you've been on the fence about adding a controller to your setup, hopefully this will give you some kind of clarity on maybe some of the questions that you have about how hard it is to integrate one of those things into your system, how it works with Pro Tools, and how this will make your life easier. If you're not subscribed to the channel, now's when I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button. I've seen some of these channels that you're subscribed to, and frankly, they're not that great. Also, turn your notifications on so you get notified when the videos come out. If you make it to the end of the video, you do the proper thing of doing me a solid and be like, not bad. Smash the like button. If at the end of it you still have energy left, drop me a comment, man. I'd love to know where you're at on your musical journey, where you are at in the world, and how you ended up on this video. Tell me something about yourself and what your passions are. I'm Justin Brogdon. It's great to be here with you. Let's get to it. So once you get your UF8, the first thing you're going to want to do is plug it in. It's pretty straightforward. You'll plug the power supply into the back of it, and you will plug one of the USB cables from the UF8 into your computer. I'm not going to labor too much on that. Should be pretty straightforward. Once your UF8 is powered up and connected to your computer, the next step that you are going to want to take is to go to the SSL website, go to their downloads, and download the SSL 360 app. This app is how you're going to set up the SSL UF8 with whatever DAW you're using. Today, we're going to be looking at Pro Tools specifically, but this could be any DAW. Once you have it downloaded onto your computer, you will want to launch it, and it is going to recognize any UF8s that you have connected to your computer. And aside with the control surfaces in general, if you're new to control surfaces, I want to make sure that I'm being clear here because it can be a little confusing on the front end if you're not all that familiar with control surfaces. Likely, if you're looking for one, you probably are familiar with them, but there's no preamps in this UF8, so it's just a controller. It has faders, it has customizable keys so that you can navigate your sessions in a million different kind of ways and quickly get to things that work best for your workflow. And the whole thing about using a control surface is to really get the best workflow you can for how you like to make and record music. So if you prefer using a mouse, maybe you don't need a control surface, but if you like the tactile feel of faders, you're gonna love the UF8 because it is just such a champ. So another cool thing is that you can daisy chain up to 4 UF8s. So for a total of up to 32 channels that you can control within a session at one time, which is really, really cool. Today I've just got one. Well, every day, just have one UF8. Once you have the app, you're going to want to come into the app and go down to the SSL UF8. Icon is like the second one up from the bottom. And you got 3 layers. And what the layers are going to be great for is if you use multiple DAWs, you can have a layer for each one of them. So for me, I'm just using Pro Tools at the moment. I do have Luna set up in here because I do use Luna from time to time. But for now, we're using Pro Tools. And you can see in here, I've got Pro Tools. Within here, you're going to notice all of these keys, your soft keys, your quick keys, your foot switches. And this is all stuff that you can totally customize to your liking and to whatever works best for you in your workflow. So once you get in here, you'll go in and choose your DAW. I've chosen Pro Tools. All right, You've got Pro Tools set up in here. The next thing that we're going to need to do is go into our DAW. So we'll go in here to Pro Tools. I'm going to close out of SSL 360. We'll just minimize that. And we're going to want to go in here, go to Setup, and go to MIDI. You're going to go down to MIDI Input Devices. Once you click that, you're going to see now I've already got it set up, SSL V MIDI port 1. Now, all of these different ports, if you had 4 UF8s and maybe you had some of the other SSL hardware that you wanted to chain into this and have recognized by your DAW, this is all the different ports. Since I'm only using one UF8, I'm just going to go into the SSL V MIDI port 1, and then we'll close that out. The next thing we'll need to do is go to Peripherals, and we're going to go to MIDI controllers. You're going to want to set this up as Huey. And then you're just going to want to set your to and from to predefined SSL V MIDI port 1 as the source, and the same in the second one. Once you do that, click OK. It's going to recognize, you'll notice it's going to recognize and launch in your system, and you can start scrolling around and you'll be able to see all of the channels in your session. You got your scroll wheel here, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The first thing I want to talk about are your quick keys up here in the top left-hand corner of your UF8. So the first one, this one's going to switch back and forth from the mix and edit windows. If you're quick with your keyboard shortcuts and you prefer that way, you could totally program that to something else. For me, it's just easy to go back and forth between those two. The second quick key is going to be your transport window. So you can hide and bring your transport window to the front, which is easy peasy. And then the third one defaults to your session setup. I just have had that there for now. I think I'm gonna make that something else. I haven't quite decided what it's going to be. But to the left of the quick keys, you'll notice there are all of your layers. So you have those 3 layers. I can switch to Luna. I don't have Luna pulled up, so it's kind of pointless to do that, but just to show you guys what you can do there. Additionally, you also have your 360 button here, and that's just going to give you a way to quickly pull up the SSL 360 app if you need it and hide it. Below that, you got your send and plugins. This is really a key feature here. So it's going to default to your sends. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to connect to your sends A through E, and your plugin inputs through A through E, and that's on every channel in your session. And you select, as you scroll through here, you'll select what you want to do. So if I wanted to go to my lead vocal in here and just go to send, you can see that the reverb is what's up on each one of those. Another great feature of this that I love is that you can click flip, which allows you to use the fader to make the adjustments to all of your sends. We'll switch it back. So that's really easy and super convenient. If you want to go to plugins, you can go to plugins, and then you would again go for, let's say for the lead vocal 1, we'll select that. That's what's in the slot for lead vocal 1 and 2. I've got auto tune on here. And you can see that I can just migrate through all of those things. All right. And then if I want to go back out of that, and if I want to choose channel, I can go to the sends and then turn that off from there. All right. So the next thing I want to look at is these V pots above each one of the faders. These are going to default to your pans. And so if you've got stereo pans going on, you'll notice that it's going to go left pan. And then if you hit the pan button, you'll see it goes pan right, and you can make those adjustments quickly there. If it's a mono channel, it'll just pan left or right. Should be pretty straightforward there. And these V pots are going to be, depending on what mode you're in, are going to do lots of different stuff. Another great feature with the pan, if you press and hold the fine button, and I have mine set, we'll go take a look at it in a minute, but you can press and hold the fine button and pan with greater resolution. It's actually going to show you a readout of where you're at on the pan scale on there. So if you want to have it set up that way all the time, you just need to go to the SSL 360 app, scroll all the way to the bottom to the advanced, and you'll see here under Huey, always fine pan. You can see I've got always fine pan and always fine sends checked on here, and this just allows me greater resolution when I'm making adjustments on my sends and on my pan knobs to really dial in where I want those things sitting in the sonic spectrum. So just below your layer and quick key buttons, you'll notice that there is send and plug in buttons. 1 through 5 are already lit up. And this will either control your sends A through E globally across all of your channels on Pro Tools, or A through E in your plugins. One of the things that you can do is if you have this pushed, you'll notice that it's going to control whatever the send is on that. If you can make adjustments with the VPOT, plus or minus what you want. If you want to reset it to 0, push the button on that. And also if you're doing pans, the same way. If you press in the VPOT, it's always going to reset to a 0 value within the session. And that is super helpful. Again, you can also hit this flip button. So if you know that you are going to, let's say you want to change the, let's say you want to change the level of the send going into this organ, and you want to use the fader to do it. It allows you to come in here and make those adjustments with a fader and not do it with the knob. So you have a little more flexibility in terms of how you want to get to where you're going, which is great. It's really about workflow. And that's the whole thing with the control surface. It's not about, I'm showing you how you need to do this. Everything in this is virtually customizable for you to really dial in how you work best and get your best workflow and your quickest workflow to be able to stay engaged and carry momentum. The same thing we always talk about on this channel, carrying momentum, not getting sidetracked to like, what's the shortcut to do this? If you know, you know, as they say. So you get something set up that works for you all the time and works best for how you like to work. And that's what's most critical. All right, we'll flip that back. Another thing to point out with the sends is this top key above the VPOT, above the display on here. You'll notice if you push it, it goes from pre to post, which gives you the ability to change whether that's pre-fader, post-fader, however you want that set up in your session. And that's going to toggle back and forth if you hit the top key. If you hit the VPOT key, you'll notice that it turns red, and then in the displays above, you'll notice that you can mute the sends by hitting that. So if you are trying to listen for some stuff, if you're in the middle of a mix and you need to mute things out quickly, that is one way to do it. Typically, I'm just gonna click Control with the Mac and kind of mute out plugs as I need to, or mute out sends as I need to. But again, that functionality is awesome. And then you also have your soft keys over here, which give you a lot of flexibility into programming exactly what you want on these different banks of ways to quickly navigate through your sessions and get things in front of you that you want. And ultimately, if you get really fast at this, you could run a session completely from the UF8, which is really, really cool. I don't think that I'll be doing that because I'm more, as I talk about a lot on this channel, the hybrid setup of using both analog and digital and kind of getting the best of both worlds. That's what works for me. But what works for you? Let me know in the comments. All right, so the next thing we're gonna take a look at here is we'll go through the selection modes. We're in norm mode, so that means that we can select a channel, we can hold that select button and choose multiple channels. If you wanted to clear all of those things, you simply hold that clear button, press one of them, and it's gonna clear everything out. In the next mode, which is the record mode, record mode, it's going to allow you to arm tracks, and you can also hold that down and arm all tracks if you wanted. Likely you probably won't want to do that all the time, but that is something that you can do there. Go back to norm mode. And then the auto is for automation, and this is what I use a lot. And then you go down here on the bottom left, you'll notice that you have your different types of automation. So we'll go touch automation, and that just gives you complete reign of the automation within whatever channel you're working on, and it's going to write it to Pro Tools, which is awesome. I use that a lot as well, and I would just say really experiment around with this stuff. Another great thing is if you're in here in navigation mode, you can, if you're on this screen, you're going to navigate your session. So this is going to allow you, as you'll notice, the cursor is going to go to different measures within the session. If you wanted to nudge, you could go click on on a clip, and you could nudge that to whatever value you have set within Pro Tools. That can be pretty handy to use. If you wanted to focus, the focus mode I really like. So if you have any kind of plug that, if I am in focus mode and I hover over any of these dials, I can take this wheel and I can make adjustments with that. And just scroll back over to the one below it. And whatever you're hovering over, you'll have control over. And that just gives you a lot more flexibility sometimes than having to try to do it with the scroll wheel or whatever kind of mouse that you're using. I find that is a great help. So this wheel is going to allow us to quickly navigate through our channels, through all the channels in the session. You can also bank left or right, and this bank isn't working quite like I would like it to. I've been trying to figure out why it doesn't go fully to one end of the session to the other, but I typically will just scroll through, especially on a session like this, isn't that big, and I can quickly get to the things that I need really quickly. Another key feature with the automation is if it's in automation mode, and if you're prepping for mix and you want to zero everything out, zero all the faders out, you can hold that. You'll notice that the alternate functions of these, you've got the clear, we already covered that. We've got the record, arm, all tracks, we covered that. We've got automation, we covered that. But if you click this and you hit any of the selection, it's going to zero out all of your faders. So it's a great place to start with a mix and just dropping everything and starting from scratch. All right, so in cursor mode, if you turn this on, we can zoom in, zoom out of our channels. We can scroll up, scroll down, change the height of each one of these channels. You can see that. Having this control surface, and especially once you get fast on it and you know the things that you want out of it, it really gives you a lot of flexibility and just a lot of control and power over your sessions so you can work really fast. And there you have it, the SSL UF8 controller. If I was unclear about anything, or if you felt like I skimmed over anything, please drop me a comment, let me know, and I'll circle back with you and get all of your questions answered. If you are still watching this video and you are not subscribed to this channel, I'm gonna do what I always do and what I'll continue to do, and I'm gonna ask you politely, repeatedly, please hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you get notified when the videos come out, and smash that like button. You made it all the way to the end. I am Justin Brogdon. Until next time, you guys keep doubling down and keep chasing your dreams. We'll be seeing you soon. Peace.